province of Ontario, Canada, a boy by the name of Josh Alexander, who was 16 years old, was suspended from school and then arrested by the police. And the reason for this was that he said that there were only two genders. There are only two genders. That was his crime. And what made this condemnation even more ridiculous was that he wasn't just attending any high school, any normal high school, a public high school. He was attending a Catholic high school, a Christian being persecuted by his own people. Where have we heard this before? Christian persecution isn't anything new. Today, in 2023, around 360 million Christians are being persecuted. They are abducted, they are tortured, they are murdered. The persecution that Josh Alexander might not be as extreme as what other Christians in the world are experiencing today, but it is a form of persecution. This type of persecution, this light persecution, is where it generally starts. We must prepare to be uncomfortable. Us Christians who are living in the West have such great privilege. And I'm not using this word lightly, like many people use it, almost like a throwaway word. No, we Christians in the West have had great privilege. We have been allowed to worship God as God intends us to worship Him, and all of that until now without many consequences. Christendom, yes, alas, had come to an end a long, long, long time ago. But now, even the simple right to worship is starting to be slowly but surely taken away. We've let the poison run through the well for far, far too long. This month, I've been reading Silence by Shusaku Endo. Spoiler alert, in it they ask the Japanese Christians to step on the fumi, which is an image of Christ. They ask them to apostatize, and they will be set free. But what happens when they do this is basically, when you give an inch, they take an L. If you accept their reality, then they will just take more and more and more. Sadly, many of us, including myself, have betrayed God over and over and over again for less than 30 pieces of silver. For way less than 30 pieces of silver. Last year, I made a video during Lent talking about how I was scared. I was still scared. I was walking in a church all by myself with my daughter in the north of France, and I found myself alone. And in that church was the church announcement board, and there were 3 photographs of 3 different people. They were all murdered for the faith. They all died in church. And at that moment, for some reason, I had this crazy, crazy fear come into my heart, into my mind. And I was in God's church. I was in church. But instead of staying in and praying, I ran out like a coward. The only thing that was going on in my mind at that moment was that if anybody came in, they could totally hurt my daughter and myself, and no one would know because no one's in this church. And like a coward, I ran out the door. And at that moment, I thought, wow, I am living here in France. At the moment, it's okay to be Catholic. It's okay to be Christian. What would happen to me if physical violent persecution came? I don't know. Good times make weak men, and hard times make strong men. During this time of Lent, I encourage you to do something uncomfortable every day. To be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like I said, we're so privileged in the West right now. There are different things that we're not allowed to talk about, that we must deny in order to live peaceful lives in certain places. Like, for example, like in Canada, there are things that you can't say, even in your own Catholic high school. And the same thing here in France. And so we must prepare for the persecution to come, because it is inevitable. And I'm not saying this to scare you or to have this mindset of evil is coming, be scared. I'm just saying be prepared. Prepare yourself. And to do that, to prepare yourself for evil, to be strong when evil comes, well, you must be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And Lent is the perfect time to practice that, to do something uncomfortable every day. In the beginning of this year, I said that my word for the year was to surrender everything to God. And part of that is putting the full trust in Him. You can be afraid. It's all right to be afraid. But I encourage you to have courage, to put trust, your whole trust in the Lord. And do not be afraid, because He's already won. And He's here suffering with you and for you. Let us pray for all the persecuted Christians and those who are just suffering way more than we're suffering. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High, who abides in the shadow of the Almighty, will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. For He will deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with His pinions, and under His wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and a buckler. You will not fear the terror of the night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in darkness, nor the destruction that wastes at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. You will only look with your eyes and see the recompense of the wicked, because you have made the Lord your refuge, the Most High your habitation. No evil shall befall you, no scourge come near your tent, for He will give His angels charge of you, to guard you in all your ways. On their hands they will bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You will tread on the lion and the adder, the young lion and the serpent you will trample underfoot. Because He cleaves to me in love, I will deliver him. I will protect him, because he knows my name. When he calls to me, I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will rescue him and honor him. With the long life, I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. My name is Alexis, and thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. God bless.